Ikedi, who was now so furious and had decided that he would no longer condone his daughter's excesses, took a whip to flog Mmesoma. However, as Ikedi raised the whip to hit Mmesoma, Mmesoma seized the whip from him and then hit him so hard that he lost his balance and fell to the ground. Surprised, Ikedi stood up and made a second attempt to beat Mmesoma, but Mmesoma overpowered him and beat him up. Every punch she threw at Ikedi felt as though it was that of a strong male warrior, and Ikedi wondered how a teenage girl could possess such strength. Olushi went into premature labor later on. Being so weak to push, Olushi died with the pregnancy. However, before Olushi took her last breaths, she called on the spirit of her baby to avenge the injustice done to her by Ikedi and Yagazie. Once upon a time, there lived a couple named Yagazie and Ikedi. Yagazie and Ikedi have been married for 9 years without the blessing of a child. Over the years, the couple did everything humanly possible to have a child of their own, but all their efforts proved abusive. Whenever Yagazie sees children playing and roaming around, her countenance would immediately change to a sad one, as she longed to have a child of her own who would play and also roam around in her home. Every night, Yagazie would cry uncontrollably and wet her bed with many tears. Ikedi, being an understanding husband, would always console his wife and assure her that they would have their own child soon. A few years later, when their marriage got to the 11th year, Yagazie took him. Her conception brought so much happiness and hope to her and her husband as they looked forward to the day they would have their child. Months later, Yagazie gave birth to a beautiful baby girl. Ikedi and Yagazie named their baby girl Mmesoma. As Mmesoma grew, her parents showered her with so much love and care. They did their best to provide everything and more of all that a child requires to be comfortable. As Mmesoma grew into a teenager, her parents began to notice some bad things about her. Mmesoma would get angry at things that are insignificant. She would also make unreasonable demands and throw objects at her parents if her demands are not met. Mmesoma sometimes would request and insist that her parents make a pot of pepper soup with antelope meat for her, even when she is aware that what she had demanded and requested for could not be found and gotten easily. And when her parents begged her to accept the normal goat's meat, chicken, and the likes, Mmesoma would refuse and throw things at her parents. One day, Mmesoma locked her parents out of the house for not making the porcupine pie meat pepper soup she had requested for. They knocked and knocked at the door while they stood outside for hours, but Mmesoma refused to open the door for them. That night, Mmesoma's parents had to sleep in their neighbor's house. The next morning, they got into the house and Ikedi, who was now so furious and had decided that he would no longer condone his daughter's excesses, took a whip to flog Mmesoma. However, as Ikedi raised the whip to hit Mmesoma, Mmesoma seized the whip from him and then hit him so hard that he lost his balance and fell to the ground. Surprised, Ikedi stood up and made a second attempt to beat Mmesoma, but Mmesoma overpowered him and beat him up. Every punch she threw at Ikedi felt as though it was that of a strong male warrior, and Ikedi wondered how a teenage girl could possess such strength. Yagazie tried to stop Mmesoma, but she also got some beating. And so, from that day, Mmesoma would beat her parents whenever they do not do what she asks of them or give her what she wants, and would chase them out of the house, most times with a stick. For many months, Yagazie and Ikedi lived in terror of their teenage daughter. They remembered how they had yearned for a child in the past, and now that they have one, they wondered why it had to be different and why the gods gave them a child who is causing them so much pain and misery. Unable to bear the pain and shame anymore, Yagazie and Ikedi paid a visit to a seer in the next village, known to possess the ability to see beyond the natural and to also profess solutions to the problems he sees. Yagazie and Ikedi were curious to find out why their teenage daughter possesses such unbelievable strength and why the gods gave them a child who beats and bullies them after being without a child for many years. On arriving at the seer's place, the couple related the issue that had brought them to the seer. After some seconds, the seer was able to see and discern the cause of Yagazie and Ikedi's problem. He told them that they are the cause of what was happening to them. Many years ago, a young girl from a wealthy background had fallen in love with a young man. The name of the girl was Oluchi and the young man Ikedi. Oluchi was Yagazie's stepsister. Oluchi's father had married Yagazie's mother after the death of his first wife. At that time, Oluchi was only 7 years old. Yagazie's mother was also a widow with a 4-year-old daughter, Yagazie, when she and Oluchi's father got married. Hence, they all lived in the same house and the two girls grew up as sisters. As the first and biological daughter of her father, it was no secret that Oluchi would get 70% of her father's wealth and all he built, whilst only 30% would go to Yagazie and her mother. Oluchi had fallen in love with Ikedi, who did not love her, but liked Yagazie instead. But because he wanted Oluchi's father's wealth, he kept pretending to love Oluchi. Yagazie was secretly aware of this and together with her mother encouraged Ikedi to keep fooling Oluchi for the sake of the wealth they all stand to gain. However, not being able to keep up with the deceits, on the day of their marriage ceremony, Ikedi opened up to Oluchi and everyone that he could not marry Oluchi anymore, as he was in love with Yagazie instead. This broke Oluchi's heart, as she was already 2 months pregnant at the time, which Ikedi and Yagazie were aware of. Ikedi one afternoon, whilst they were taking a walk, had asked to be intimate with Oluchi. Oluchi refused and asked that they waited till they were married, as it was the right thing to do. However, Ikedi, being unable to control his urge, forced himself on Oluchi. He apologized immediately after the act and blamed it on the devil. Oluchi, being so much in love with Ikedi, forgave him, as they were going to be married soon after all. And so, Oluchi felt cheated and betrayed after Ikedi called off their marriage and asked to marry Yagazie instead. She told everyone that she was carrying Ikedi's baby. However, Ikedi outrightly denied the pregnancy and swore that he never slept with Oluchi. Oluchi was termed a loose girl by the whole village for getting pregnant for an unknown man and trying to pin it on Ikedi. Ikedi and Yagazie got married and moved to another village. Olushi wept for months and bore the pain of betrayal from the man whom she loved and whose baby she carried in her womb. Olushi went into premature labor later on. Being so weak to push, Olushi died with the pregnancy. However, before Olushi took her last breaths, she called on the spirit of her baby to avenge the injustice done to her by Ikedi and Yagazie. And so, it is Olushi's dead baby who had reincarnated as Mesoma to make Ikedi and Yagazie pay for their past evil deeds, even after making them childless for years until her arrival. To atone for what they did and get redemption, the seer told Ikedi and Yagazie that they must confess to Olushi's family and clear Olushi's name in the presence of her whole family and village, and that Olushi was not a loose girl. Full of regrets for their evil past and willing to atone for their wrong deeds, Ikedi and Yagazie did all the seer asked them to do. They also went to Olushi's graveside to plead for forgiveness. The next morning, Yagazie and Ikedi found Mesoma lying calmly on her bed but had stopped breathing. It was evident that Mesoma had returned back to where she had come from after Ikedi and Yagazie's atonement. Yagazie and Ikedi felt the pain of being childless again, realizing that they had brought that upon themselves. However, a year later, Yagazie conceived again and months later gave birth to a baby boy. They brought up their son with so much love, but most importantly, trained him to be a man of integrity and honesty. The end. I hope you enjoyed the story and have learned a thing or two from it. I would love to know. Please leave a comment. Thank you for watching and see you in our next video. Bye.